Hi, good evening. Nice to see you.
Good evening.
All right. How are you, Nisim?
Baruch Hashem, Rabbi, thank you.
Thank God. Okay, beautiful. Let's get started. No time to waste.
That's right.
Okay. All right. We're starting a new siman, if I'm not mistaken. Which is siman yud, right? That's where we're going? Very nice. Going to siman yud. Already on 10th chapter. So we're starting with the tour in siman yud. And here we go. Okay, so it says like this, the tour. Talit she'en la arba kanfot. The talit doesn't have four corners. Petura, it's right, it's exempt from tzitzit. Am I in the wrong place? Let me see. Okay. Right, that's like the introduction. The small print.
Oh.
So go past that and go with the big letters. Where the big boys go. That's for the little guys. Okay.
Thank you.
So all right. So it says talit she'en la arba kanfot. If the talit doesn't have four corners, that's like an overview. It gives you an overview. The small print. It's something new that they added. I don't think it comes from the original tour. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was added for convenience. Anyway, right? The talit doesn't have four corners. Yesh la yoter petura. It's patur from tzitzit, exempt from tzitzit. That's why we don't wear on our begadim tzitzit, right? Otherwise, we'd have to put your suit, your jacket, your shirt. We don't have four corners there. Okay, so why is that? Because the parts of the beged are like rounded, or it's not symmetrical. We're gonna see, right? All that stuff. There's a lot of things to understand about that. Okay, so anyway, right? Yesh la yoter mi'arba kanfot, but if it has more than four, chayevet, it's liable, right? So because it has five or six doesn't mean it's exempt. Four or more. That's what it means. Okay, so ve'osela arba tzitziot. So we do four tzitziot. In other words, if it has more than four corners, we make four tzitziot. Right? Not five, not six. Right? Be'arba kanfea, and the four corners, yesh la arba v'chatach echad be'alachson. So now another interesting scenario he brings here. Let's say it does have four corners, but what he did was he cut one of them off, he made it into like a triangle shape. He took away the corner basically. Okay, so what? Yeah, right. But alaksa means like more like a sloped. He sloped it. Okay, we'll see what that means. So יש את הארבע okay. עושה את הארבע כנפיות בארבע כנפיה. יש את הארבע חתך אחד באלכסון ועשאו שניים. So what happened was that there was four. Oh, okay. I see what he did. He made it into two now. You know what he did? He cut the talit like diagonally. So now there's two corners.
It's just the front.
Huh? I'm sorry?
Just the front and the back of the table?
The whole talit, like the whole thing, he cut it diagonally.
Okay.
So he left over two. Or shekbia kanafia, or let's say he pulled up the corner, right, the tefaram, and he sewed it. So now it doesn't, you can't see the corner anymore. He sewed it up. Binyan shelo nishar bakanaf, in a way that now you don't have a corner there left over. Lo niftara bezeh, so it says it doesn't get exempt because of this. Interesting. Sorry? Yeah. Right. So I'll show you, right? He did like this, okay? Like this. He sewed up the corner.
Oh,
You see?
yeah.
Right. He sewed it up. And okay, so או שהגביה כנפיה ותרבה, בעניין שלא נשאר בכנף, now there's no corner there. לא נפטרה בזה, doesn't get exempt because of that. Okay. היא של בגד וכנפיה של אור. What about if the tzitzit is made out of fabric, all right? I'm sorry, the talit is made out of fabric, but the corners are leather. So it's a mixed garment, right? Okay. Chayevet, it's liable for tzitzit. Chayevet he shel, all right, it's liable. Shel or knafia shel beged piturahi. But if the talit is made out of leather and its corners are made out of fabric, it's exempt. Right. So we go according to the main part of the beged, I guess that's the idea, the main part. Because that's the main size of the beged, the main element there.
Right, why wouldn't you need leather to say from leather?
Because leather is not liable for tzitzit. In a sense, it's not one of the fabrics that are liable. We have linen and wool from the Torah, and all the other stuff is derabanan, right? But I guess the rabbis didn't decree on leather. You know what I mean? So yeah. So right. So let's say he had 3 corners in the beged, and he made 3 tzitzit. And then he cut another corner, right? He cut it, made it into a corner. So now it's all of a sudden has 4, right? And he made tzitzit over there. It's pasul. Why? Because he did it in the wrong sequence, right? Remember we talked about this before, right? You have to make first the beged has to have 4 corners, and then you put tzitzit, not the other way around.
But if you take the tzitzit off and put on all 4?
That's what you have to do. You have to take it off. That's the one, yeah. Take it off and put it back on. That's what you got to do. Okay, very good. So okay. Okay, let's go on. Is that the end of the Aleph? Oh, okay. Let's go to Bet Yosef. Let's go to Bet Yosef before we get into trouble. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to Bet Yosef.
Bet Yosef is written in Aramaic.
No, it's not like the Gemara. Bet Yosef is basically a Hebrew work, but of course, he quotes the Talmud, so there's going to have Aramaic. It's like probably like 70% Hebrew, 30% Aramaic, something like that. The other way around. Okay, so it starts like this, right? It brings the tour, and then it says, right, Talit she'en la arba kanfot, right? That's how it starts. Then we go down a little bit. The Perek Hatchelet, it's over there. Perek Hatchelet in Menachot Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. It just scrolled down like 2 lines, 1 line. So it says, right, it's in Menachot. Tan Rabbanan, it says over there, the rabbis taught, Hakol Chayavim b'tzitzit, right? Everybody's obligated to tzitzit Kohanim, right? Whether it's Kohen or whatever, right? Nashim v'abadim, also, women and slaves, according to this opinion, right? Rabbi Shimon poter menashim. So Rabbi Shimon exempts women, right? Okay, they're exempt, right? According to Rabbi Shimon. Who is that? Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, right? Why is that? Why does he exempt the women? Because it's a positive commandment, which is time bound. Why is it time bound? Because at night doesn't exist, right? That's the whole thing. It's only in the daytime.
The woman exempt from all time bound, not just
Positive commandments, right? Most of them, most of them. There are some exceptions as well, right? For instance, like the positive commandments on Shabbat, they're obligated on those. Like Kiddush, for instance, right? They're obligated, even though it's a positive commandment, which is time bound. Okay, so there are some exceptions, but that's the general rule. Right? My Tama de Rabbi Shimon. What's the reason of Rabbi Shimon? The Tanya, it says in the Braita, it says you shall see them, prat leksut laila, that comes to exclude a beged, which is for the night, pajama, whatever, right? Are you telling me that it's coming to exclude pajama, or enoela prat leksut someh? Maybe it's coming to exclude the beged of the blind. Keshehu omer, when it says devarim chabet asher techase ba, you should cover yourself with it. Hare kesut someh amur. So the beged of the blind is already said. Ha mani mikem. So therefore, what am I now gonna do with this one? When it says you shall see them, prat kesut laila. It's excluding the night beged. But Rabbanan, what about the rabbis? Hi asher techaseba my abdele. How do they learn this pasuk techaseba? Mibai lehu lekiditanya. They learn like this in the Braita. Arba kanfut kesutecha arba velo shalosh. It's coming to tell you, right, that it has to have 4 but not 3 corners of the garment. Otherwise, it's going to be exempt. Atom arba velo shalosh. You're coming to tell me that's 4 and not 3. Oh, enoela arba velo chamesh. Maybe it's coming to exclude 5. Right?
Like,
Sorry?
like they were talking about examining at night, right?
Yeah.
How did the whole discussion
The other opinion learns it for a different halacha. You understand? There's 2 different opinions going on here. So Gemara is like comparing one to the other, What does he do? What about him? What about him? What about him? It's like flipping back and forth,
What is the second opinion?
That what? It's Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan, right? We have Rabbi Shimon who says that it's coming to exclude a pajama. And this one is coming to say it's coming to exclude the 5 corners.
The fact that you should look at it.
Yeah. So then how do what about al arba? What is this for? Arba velo shalosh. It's coming to exclude 3. How do you know that you should include 5 and exclude 3? How do you know that? Who told you? Right? Where do you get that grand idea? Right? So the Gemara says, you know why I'm coming to include 5? Because it's more than 4. In other words, there is 4 there as well, and 4 and more, right? Therefore, it makes more sense to include it. And I'm excluding 3, because 3 doesn't have 4. So it makes more sense to do it that way. Right? It's all logic. Yeah, right. Logic. Okay. Right? Rabbi Shimon me'asher nafka. So Rabbi Shimon, where does he learn that? This halakha? When it says asher nafka. Rashi explains, comes from the word asher. Right? Pirish Rashi, me asher, he learns from the word asher, milibuya, coming to include something, hare the ben de Rabbanan, ben de Rabbi Shimon. So you see from there, says Rashi, whether it's Rabbanan or Rabbi Shimon, balat chamesh chayevet. You see that 5-cornered garment is obligated for tzitzit. Ela the more nafkalem measher techaseba one takes it from this piece of Chumash, Umar nafka me asher, right? And one takes it from just the word asher, right? Just that word.
What does this word come to teach? How does it come to teach that?
That you have to look in the Gemara, right? We're not learning Gemara now, so we're not going to get into the technicalities of the Gemara. That's not our purpose over here, right? That's a different. Right? What do you call it? It's a different discipline. It's a different discipline.
So
We're not going to get into the technicalities of the Gemara, because otherwise it becomes a Gemara class. You know what I mean?
so somehow
Yeah.
the word
Right. That's the way it is. Trust them. They know what they're doing. That's the way we. Okay. So okay, then you have to go to Daf Yomi class, for that stuff. Right? Yeah, it's a different class. Okay. Maybe we'll do that too one day. Visit the show. I used to do it in Israel. I used to have a Daf Yomi, thing going on. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's nice, to have Daf Yomi. Okay, so Umar nafkale me'asher lechude, right? So and one learns it, right, as we said, from only asher. The chen dat harif. So he says the rif also agrees with that. Ve'arosh, the rosh, right? So they're going like Rabbi Shimon, right? That's what we're saying. V'chen hichriu Tosfot, also Tosfot. V'chen katav samag. V'chen pasak Rambam. So we see all the Rishonim are going like the Rabbi Shimon. By the way, why don't we go like the Rabbanan? They're the majority. Good question, right? We'll see what happens there. Katu sham agaot. Says the agaot. Hainu kibraita de'atchelet. So it's like the bright of tchelet. Velo kahi the perek shenid zvachim. Not like the second perek of zvachim. The mema'et balat chamesh. That over there comes to exclude 5-cornered garments from right. So there is an opinion like that too. Right. So I'm sorry. It doesn't really doesn't really matter. I didn't say it right. It doesn't really matter whether you go according to Rabbanan and Rabbi Shimon. They both agree that 5 corners is chayav. So therefore, this is going to go into both of them.
We're just questioning 3.
No, we're saying is that there's another Gemara somewhere else that excludes 5. So comes to tell you we don't pass like the Gemara. We pass like this Gemara, right? Okay, good. Okay, let's go on. So if you can shut down this noise here, is it possible? There's something going on there.
You're being picked up
Some
by
activity.
Google Assistant.
Oh,
Voice
okay.
activation.
Some activity going on there. Good. Okay. Let's go on. So as we said, right, that all the Rishonim seem to go like that. Ubarat shalosh, v'chen pasku atosfot b'sefer Tumah. So there are also paskim that way. That 5 is also excluded. V'chen mashma shelhe kometz rabba. Over there also there's another Gemara menachot. V're'em also like this rabbi pasak de ptura. He paskin that it's patur. V'chen pasak rabbeinu simcha. But there's also some Rishonim on this side as well. Teha b'sifri. Why? Because it says in Sifri, which is a midrash. Halachic midrash, right? Misrifri, right? It's not a story midrash, right? Agada. Nami ika beraita de patra balad chamesh. There's also a bright over there that also says the same thing. Kahi de zvachim, like zvachim. Besame ahi tatchelet mikme tarte. Oh, right. So therefore, he says that that we're gonna. The reason why Pascal is like this opinion is because he says that this Gemara is only one, but regarding the other opinion, we have 2 sources, so therefore we go like that. That's what he says, right? Makes sense, right? Whatever. Okay, so we have to know why the other Rishonim don't go like that, right? They have reason too, obviously. Katava Amarik b'Shoresh Kuf Memtet, right? So it says the Marik in Shoresh this place. The Svara Zo Pshita the Divrei Yachid Hem. Oh, it says the Maharik. This is like a minority opinion, though, right? So don't rely on that. In other words, don't try to say that 5-cornered garment is patu. Don't say that. Minority opinion, right? Small minority. The katava, it's a single opinion. The katava rosh says the rosh. The haditanya, that which we learn in Sifri, right? In the midrash, the parsha, the asulam tzitzit. It says over there, make for them tzitzit. Al kanfei bigdehem, on the corners of their beged. Af bale shalosh, ubale chamesh, ubale shesh, ubale sheva, ubale shmona b'mashma. Includes everything, right? Which doesn't have 4, right? Whether it's less or more. Everything is included there. Right? So meaning what? That they're all patur, according to this opinion, right? The Mashma Talmud Lomar comes to tell you, no, not like that. Arba kanfot yatsu bale shalosh tells you 4. So that excludes 3. Ubale chamesh and also 5. Ubale shesh and 6. Ubale sheva, right? All these things are excluded. Ubale shmona and also 8. Oh, right? Octagon, hexagon, right? All these kinds of things, right? Nireli deachi perusho. So it says it seems to me that this is the perush. Ela ketiv ela al kanfe bignehem. If it would have been written, wouldn't have not have been written on the corners of your garment. How about me? I would have said the bechol kanafayim yesh the biged, right? That every sheyesh the biged, every corner which the biged has. In other words, if it has 5 corners or 6, every corner, right? The sheyesh biged amrat Torah lasot tzitzit. You may think you have to put tzitzit on each one. 5 corner, 5 tzitzit, 6 tzitzit, 7 tzitzit, right? Can you imagine if it would be like that? You have to spend a lot of money on that. So, בכל כנפיים שיש בגד אמרה תורה לעשות ציצית, הן מעט הן הרבה, התלמוד לומר comes to teach you על 4 כנפות, don't only put 4 ציצית, no matter what, right? No more than 4. מעטו מעט והרבה, right? So therefore it's all excluded. ובעינן 3 פסול, ובעלת 3 פסול. But if it's 3, it's פסול. אף אם הטיל 4, even if he put 4 ציצית, doesn't do anything. דל 4 בעינן, because we need 4. So you make it's not so. So therefore, it's excluded also 5 corners, and also more. You shouldn't put on every corner tzitzit. Only 4 corners you put tzitzit. Also there, of mashma like that, implies like that. It only you only put on 4 corners, not more than that. Right? So even though it's chayav, but it's chayav only for, you understand? That which we learned in the Mishnah, Kafchet Amud Aleph, Arba tzitziot me'akvot zu et zu. That 4 tzitziot, right? They prevent each other. In other words, you have to have 4. There's no way to take a shortcut with that, right? She'arbatan mitzvah achad. Why? Because all 4 tzitzit are 1 mitzvah. It's a package deal. Right? Rabbi Ishmael Omer Arbatam Arba Mitzvot. So Rabbi Ishmael says no, each one is a separate mitzvah. So meaning what? One doesn't prevent the other, according to him. They asked the Gemara, what's the practical difference between them? Right? What's the practical difference? Right? So it says this rabbi, Talit Balat Chameshika Benayu. The practical difference is a 5-corner garment. So what does that mean? Rashi explains. The Tana Kama, according to the first Tana, Damar mitzvah echad, it's 1 mitzvah, and Savar arba dafka. So he holds that you have to have 4, right? 4 dafka. Le mitzvah echad, that's 1 mitzvah. If you don't have 4, you don't have a mitzvah at all. So since the pasuk included 5 corners, le'atil le'arba kanfotea rabie. It only included it to put 4 tzitzit, not more than that. And not to put also on the 5th corner. That we don't do. Mitzvah tzitzit be'arba kanfot, right? And the mitzvah tzitzit is on the 4 corners. Rabbi Ishmael de'amar arbatan arba mitzvot. According to Rabbi Ishmael, that said that what? That 4 of them is 4 mitzvot. Ki rabbe rachamana barat chamesh. When the pasuk is coming to include. Right, coming to include 5. Nami latil lekulhu rabbi. So according to this opinion, you have to put on all of them. Why? Because here it's like each one is a separate mitzvah. So therefore, even on the 5th corner, you have to put. So it says in the Gemara, halacha is not like Rabbi Ishmael. Also the Rambam, Perek Gimel, halacha Gimel, shkatav. So it says, right, 4 corners of your beged, 4 corners below balat cheshalosh, and not 3. It comes to exclude 3. Why is that? Because 5 also has 4. So therefore, when he does tzitzit for a 5-corner garment, or 6, he only makes for 4 corners. המרוחקות זו מזו, which are far from each other, the furthest away. מאותן החמש או השש, from those 4, 5, and 6, בלבד שנאמר, besides that it says על ארבע כנפות, בכסותך, right, the four corners of your beged, כתוב במרדכי, it says in מרדכי. בשם תוספות, in the name of תוספות, chance, תוספות chance, the מדלו שקת תלמודה, right, since the Talmud, I'm sorry, since the Talmud didn't take, אלא בעלת חמש, it only talked about 5 corners, משמע דווקא בעלת חמש חייבת. It's משמע that only 5 is חייב, אבל בעלת שש פטורה, but 6 is פטור. This תוספות says like that, right? We don't pass it like that. אלא מדאמר בברייתא מרבה אני בעלת חמש, but since it says in the ברייתא that I'm coming to include 5, שיש בכללה 4, because it's included in 4, משמע דבהי תמה, it implies that from this reason, אפילו טובה, even more, ודברים תמוהים הם בעיניי. So it says, these are, right, it says wondrous things, right? In other words, that doesn't make sense, right? Says. Okay, yeah. אפילו לא תנא שיש בכלל 5, 4, because even it wouldn't say that 5 was included in 4, right? 4 is included in 5, whatever. מאיך התסק הדתים, where would you think, why would you think, לחלק בין בעלת 5, בעלת 6? Why would you think to exclude, right, 6 and make it different than 5? Why would that be any different? Yeah, doesn't make any sense. So it says, therefore, in any case, לעניין דינה, what is the halacha? כבר מבואר בדבריו, it's already right, brought down there in his words, דאפילו בעלת כנפיים טובה חייבת, that even if you have a lot of corners, 6, 7, 8, whatever it may be, right, it's all chayav. They're all chayav. כמבואר בברייתא, like it says in the ברייתא, the Sifri, like in the Sifri there, in the Midrash, וכן פשוט בדברי הרמב"ם. So it said that's the way it's pashut in Rambam. והראש והסמ"ג זר. So all these poskim seem to agree, right, that it's chayav, right? Whether it's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, doesn't make any difference. Okay, beautiful. Okay. Let's go to Shulchan Aruch. Aleph. Siman Yud Shulchan Aruch Aleph. Okay. So it says Shulchan Aruch. Talit, you got that? Talit. She'en la dalad kanfot. It doesn't have 4 corners. Petura, it's exempt. Yesh ta yoter midalad. If it has more than 4, chayevet, it's obligated. Ve'oseh la arba tzitziot ve'arba kanafia. So what do? You put 4 tzitzit on the 4 corners, hamruchakot zo mizo yoter, the ones that are further apart. So you like scatter them, like as much as possible, like further apart. So that's the way you do it. Don't put them like close together, right? It makes it more symmetrical like that. Makes sense, right? Yeah. So okay, good. That's the way it is. Very simple. Very simple. I remember when I was young, there was a rabbi here that like one of my first rabbis that I had here. So we got into an argument about this, and I was learning Shulchan Aruch. He wasn't so much learning Shulchan Aruch. He was more like a Gemara rabbi. So we argued about this, So he said, no. I said, if it's 5 corners, it's exempt. I told him, no, Shulchan Aruch says chayav. So I showed it to him, He was like, oh, okay, you're right. So that was the first time I showed up my Rebbe. Okay, sometimes you gotta do it. You got the goods, Okay. Okay. So but he admitted it, He said, you're right. Okay. I said, fine. All right. That's why, it's not good to be a Gemara Rebbe that doesn't learn halacha. You have to learn some halacha. It's not just enough just to learn Gemara. You know what I mean? It's not good enough.
You finish the shots first.
No way. No. You gotta learn halacha right away. From the time that you're nursing your mother's milk, you have to start learning halacha. I'm exaggerating, but yeah, the truth is, that what does it say in Pirkei Avot? 5 years old, you start learning Chumash, right? 10 years old, Mishnah. Mishnah is halakha, same thing. So from the age of 10, you got to start learning Shulchan Aruch already, according to Pirkei Avot, right? But the truth is, that the people were like Geonim, rabbis. They already, at 10 years old, they already finished the Shulchan Aruch. You know what I mean? They already know Shulchan Aruch. So depends on who you are, right? And what you are.
I thought you were starting Mishnah 10 and 15 is Gemara.
Sorry? Right, yeah, 15 is Gemara, yeah. That's it.
So
Mishnah is halakha.
is halakha.
Yeah. But not Bet Yosef, you know what I mean? Bet Yosef is more like Gemara. It's more like, but I'm talking about just the Shulchan Aruch, that's like Mishnah. You're just reading the halachot, one after the other. Kitzur,
Right.
Kitzur book. That's the Mishnah. That's pretty much what it is. What do you call it? So you guys start doing that a little bit earlier. Mishnah, halachot, Shulchan Aruch, Rambam. All the big Gedolim, by the way, all the big Geonim that we had in the former generations, they knew the Rambam by heart. The whole Rambam they knew by heart. You know what I mean? Can you imagine what that is? By the way, I'm not talking about the old generation, even this generation, They say Chacham Ben Zion Abashol, he was sick towards the end of his life. He had a very bad illness. And he had excruciating pain, and he was in the hospital. So like he just was lying there on the bed, They say, that he was just learning Rambam because he knew by heart. So he was just lying there on the bed, reviewing his Rambam. Like, that's what he was doing. What is he gonna do there? Look at the ceiling, right? Count sheep. What is he gonna do?
Memory.
Can you imagine? That's the way it is, So they say, by the way, the Gaon of Vilna, when he was 3 years old, he already finished the Tanakh. I mean, so you can imagine, right? What he was, how fast he did these things. Very, very, these Gaonim were like that. That's the way they were. Okay. So it depends on what you are, right? What kind of neshama you are. Okay, so some neshamot are very high, They come from a gilgul, which was already a high neshama. So they're continuing, they're building on top of that. Okay, very good. Let's go to Bet, right? So we're going to. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we still have. We still have more Shulchan Aruch to do. Because we did. I'm sorry. Yeah. What about Bet Yosef? Yeah, we have to do Bet Yosef. Yes, we did the tour. Yeah. Yes. Okay, let's go to Bet Yosef Bet. יש לה ארבע וחתך אחד מאלכסון. See that?
Mhm.
So what does that mean? It has 4 corners, and what happened was that he cut it like in a length, like a what do you call it? Right, diagonal, exactly. He cut it diagonally. The asao shnaim, he made it into 2. He left 2 corners basically, right? So okay, so what happens over there? Lo niftera b'zeh, it's still not patur because of that. It's interesting. So we have to see what that means, right? How does that work? There's a Gemara over there, Lama Zayin Amud Bet, right? This is Menachot also. Amarav Shisha Bered Rav Idi. It says this Rabbi, Hi man de batse leglime la abad velo klum. Right? So it says if he took his glima, right, which is like a cloak, right, and he diminished it, something like that, right? He didn't do nothing. In other words, he hasn't accomplished anything. So we'll see what that means, right? Shavia barat chamesh. What about if he made it into 5 corners? Cut it in a way, right? It makes it into 5 corners. Okay. Rashi explains the batse, the glime. What does that mean? Shechatach be'echad min kanot chaticha. What he did was he took one of the corners of the beged and he cut it, right? He took off a piece there, right? The kamin pegimat. So he made like a imperfection there, it's like an indentation. Sheniret keshne karnaim. So now it looks like 2 corners. In other words, he cut it in a way. He made 1 corner into 2. Lo aval klum. Right? So he hasn't done nothing. The potra min tzitzit. He hasn't puttered it from a tzitzit. Why is that? Shaviat balat chamesh v'chayevet, because he made it into like 5 corners. In other words, he took one corner and he made it into 2. You know, by doing it diagonally, right? So therefore, he made it. He didn't change anything because it's still chayav. As we said, right? 5 is chayav. Right? It's obligated 5. The chayevet, right? Chayevet. Okay, that's the bit Yosef. Let's look at the Shulchan Aruch there. Bet. The says Shulchan Aruch, yesh la arba. You see what that is? It says it has 4 corners, right? The chatach echad be'alachson. So what did he do? He cut diagonally 1 corner. Ve'asaom shinaim. He made it into 2. Hared naaset balat hey. So now it has 5 corners. The chayevet, therefore it's obligated, right? Nothing has changed. Okay. Very nice. Let's go to Gimel. Back and forth, right? Back and forth. Like ping pong. Okay. Okay. Let's see where we are. Right, so it says Bet Yosef, Gimel. Or Sheikbia Kanafea with Faram, right? Or let's say he lifted up the corner and he sewed it, right? That now there's no corner there, right? He rounded out of the corner, he rounded it. That's what he did. Gamze Sham, it's also over there. He says the Gemara, Amar Bashashia, this rabbi says, Hi man, the Tzaire Legline, a person who does this, right, his cloak. As you said, right, he cut it, right, whatever. Here he sewed it, maybe, right, whatever it is. Lo avad v'lo klum. He didn't do nothing. My Tama, what's the reason? It says Gemara, why is that nothing? The command the sharadam, because it seems it resembles like it's open. It's the same thing. By the way, the question is, why is that? If he sewed it up, he changed it, so why is it that considered to be nothing? He changed the shape of the beged. So we'll see how that works, right? So it says, Amar Abdimi min Havdea. It says this rabbi, Hi man de chayte reglime. If he, as we said, right, he sewed it up, lo avad v'lo klum, didn't do nothing. Im ita de lo mibaye lifsok v'lishdie. If it's so, right, that he doesn't want to, whatever. Let's see Rashi how he explains it. I'm not really sure what he means by this. Rashi explains like this. Belashon acharon shetafas ikara de tzayre leglime, right? That's the main language over there in the end. The tzayre leglime. What does that mean? Kanot talito kafal the kashar. Oh, right. So the first case that we talked about in the Gemara is not that he sewed it, but what he did was actually just folded it and tied it, right? So that's not permanent. That's the reason why we say it's nothing. He didn't actually sew it up. You know what I mean? So since that's the case, that's the reason why it's considered to be like it's only temporary, like not something permanent. So therefore, it's still chayav and tzitzit. That's what we're saying. So it looks like he actually like cut the corner, but he didn't. He just folded it, right? Yeah.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Why would they put that in? Like this is
Yeah.
He tied it, but did not actually make it a permanent. Rashi understood it from somewhere, but
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But how does Rashi know about it?
Oh, good question. Okay, so the answer is like this, right? That the Gemara is Aramaic, okay, and the language is quite cryptic and difficult. So Rashi had a Masorah, since he was a big Chacham, on how to explain the Gemara. He knew how to explain. In other words, his Rabbi taught him how to explain it, and he wrote it down. Basically, that's what it is. Yeah. It's a Masorah. It's a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not guesswork, whatever, something like that. Right? It's a Masorah. Yeah, they had a Masorah. Rashi had a Rebbe, and his Rebbe taught him what to do and how to do, right? Okay, so that's the way it goes. So it looks like it doesn't have 4 corners. but it really does, right? It's not permanent, as we said. Why did he do that? Because he wanted to putter it from tzitzit, right? The wise guy, Yeah, I'll putter my tzitzit, I'll tie it up and fold it, right? That's what it means, right? Lo asaklum, that's nothing. But tatami tzitzit. So he didn't exempt it from tzitzit by doing that. My tama, what's the reason? Right? Kiman de sharadam, because it's considered like it's open. Why? Because it's not permanent. But arba can find he. So therefore, it's considered to have four corners. So Rashi explains that it's in the end it's going to go back to how it was. It's not a permanent issue here, so it's temporary. But now we're talking about sewing it up, right? The second case, he actually sewed it up, right? So he folded it up and he sewed it up there too. Therefore, it's not going to go back to the way it was, unless you open up, right? The sewing, right? Which is already a job. I mean, whatever. It's still nothing, it says. Interesting, right? The patam min tzitzit. Doing the pater from tzitzit. Why? As long as he didn't cut it off, right? It's not considered to be anything. So what does that mean? It's going to revert back to what it was before. That's the rabbis were concerned about that, I guess. So therefore, they didn't pater it. Right? So pasak la. דכל כמה דלא פסק לה שמאמיני מבעלה ועדיין הם מן הטלית, right? So in other words, it's considered part of talit unless you cut it off, basically, right? והראש, now says the Rosh, that was Rashi, says the Rosh, פירש על דציירה לגלימה שהגביע כנפי טלית בתפארן. Oh, so no, right? Rosh explains it differently, not like Rashi. He explains the first part is talking about he sewed it, right? Not that he folded it and just tied it. But lo yadati, so he says, I don't know, lama. I don't know why he explained it differently than Rashi. Share alman dechayeteg legline havalele mifaresh ken, because he really should have explained that in the second part. In other words, the second part is talking about sewing. So then why you explain the first part is sewing? But they're both the same? Right? Doesn't make any sense, right? Rabbeinu katav tifaram lo patala. So says Rabbeinu the Tur that if he sewed it up, he didn't putter it. All the more so if he tied it. He didn't sew it. Therefore, it's not exempt. Okay, good. So now let's go to Shulchan Aruch. Yes, we're flying around. No time to waste, right? So it says in Gimel, kafar kanot talito. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
He folded the corner, right, four corners of his talit, ukisharam, or he tied it, or tifaram, or he sewed it. Either way. But domeh kelu kitzan. So it looks like he cut it off, but not really, right? The ends zekinafot, and therefore there's no corners. You may think, right? You may think there's no corners. Nevertheless, he says, "Lo niftara." It's not exempt anyway. That's how he paskins, right? So, from there. But by the way, it's interesting. Is this the Rabbanan or is this from the Torah? Probably it's the Rabbanan. You know what I mean? Because if you sewed it up, why should it not be good enough? That should be good because it's permanent. But maybe the rabbis were concerned, that he's gonna put it back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna see in the Mefarshim here what they say about that. Let's look at the Mishnah Berurah, right? You don't have it, but I have it. Yeah. So I'll tell you what it says. Okay. Mishnah Berurah says, interesting. He brings here Mishnah Berurah that there are those that are arguing with this. They say that if you sewed it, it's considered to be permanent, it's patur. There's another opinion like that. Okay, Vishani, okay, it goes into all kinds of things, but it doesn't really talk about if it's Rabbanan. Interesting. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else here. Yeah, okay, so that doesn't talk about it, but my guess is that it's the Rabbanan, this whole thing. But I have to check that. Okay, if I get a chance to check it, I'll check it out. But anyway, that's the story. That's the halacha. There's also here Taz.
Why didn't they saw the sides together?
Uh,
Why didn't they wear around it?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Why didn't they saw the sides in that generation? Why didn't they make the governments as we have today?
This was like the fashion in those days, this was the moda, this was the moda.
It's comfortable like that? Like the sides
Yeah,
open?
for us it's not comfortable because we're not used to it, For us it's a pain in the neck. Maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? Okay. Whatever. I don't see anybody talks about this. Okay, well, position. We'll leave that aside for now. So we'll go to hey.
No?
Is it Dalit? Yeah, Dalit, right. Okay. So we're doing the Bit Yosef, right?
Mhm.
He shall beged u'kanafiyah shel or. Now we're talking about the case where, right, the talit or whatever, the beged is fabric, the corners are leather, right, or the other way around, right? So if the main part is the fabric, it's chayavet. He should kanafiyah shel beged betura. But if it's the other way around, the main part is from leather, just the corners are fabric, so then it's patur. So it says Maran Bit Yosef, Memra de Rava Perek Atchelet. It's over there for the Gemara. Menachot Mem Amul Bet. V'ayin Tama. So it gives a reason for this.
Rabbi,
Mishum.
sorry to
Go ahead.
interrupt.
No problem.
When you reference the Gemara, I only see man. Like what you mentioned the other way.
Right, so I guess my version has it. Your version doesn't have it, right? There are
What
things
does
like
it
that.
mean? Is it more detailed? Like your version?
Oh, you know what's Amud Aleph Amud Bet? A and B, right? When you have the Gemara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, you know what that is, right? Yeah. So it's more, it's more precise, whatever, right? But anyway, right? Some people put it in, some people don't put it in. It's how it is, right? Each publisher has his own way of doing things, stuff like that. Right.
Thank
So
you,
yeah,
Rabbi.
there's no end to it.
Yeah, you mentioned it multiple times. I was confused. Where are you getting the extra letters?
Okay, right. It's got two dots. Two dots means bet. You have two dots there?
Yes. Oh,
That's
means
what it
bet?
means. Yeah, one dot is A and two dots is B. You learned something today.
I'm-
You learned
I'm-
something today.
I'm learning art spell. A-B.
Okay, got it. Right. Okay, you start from the English. Now you're going to the Hebrew, right? It's the other way around. You're going backwards. Okay, so you're in a retroactive mode.
So 2 dots is bet.
Right, exactly. That's what it is. Yeah. Na'ib tama mishum de'ikar beged beinan. So you know what? So it gives a reason over there. What's the reason why? Because we're going according to the ikar, right? The main part of the beged, whatever that is, that's what makes it. That's the character of the beged. So if it's mostly leather, it's considered to be leather. Therefore, it's patur, it's exempt. If it's mostly fabric, right, it's considered to be fabric, and therefore it's chayav. It's obligated. Right, that's what we're saying. Okay. So Katav Maharik B'Shorish Mem Kuf Mem Ted. Says Maharik, right over there. B'Shem Rabbeinu Manoach. The Tama. What's the reason why? Mishum Tichtiv, because it says Asher Techaseba, that you should cover yourself with it. In the pasuk. Ben Adam Mitkaseh Ela Beikara Beged. Oh, look what it says, right? A person covers himself with the majority of the clothing. Okay. Mishum Hachi. It says, therefore, Azina Batre, that would go with the majority. Because that's where you get your benefit from, right? From the majority of the beged. Ben Niftor, Ben Nifu, whether it's right, lenient or stringent, right? Either way, doesn't make a matter which way. Kanafeh Asher or, right? So what about when it says, right, that the corners are leather? Here Rashi explains, Shenechtechu Kanea, what happened was, right, that the corners of the beged were cut off. Right, the talabahin or, and he put leather there, right? For some reason or other, right? Yeah, fashion, whatever it is, right? Ubehi shel or katav, and regarding if it's mostly leather, it says marik, the shoresh kuf memtet, the pshita, the lom kriya hachi, that it's pashut, right? That it's not going to be liable. Ela inken ruba shel or, unless it's mostly right. In other words, we're not going to call it like that unless it's mostly leather. Then it's going to be exempt. Has to be the majority leather. Even though Rav Achai argues with this, the Rava and Rava, he says no, we don't go according to the majority, we go according to the corners. Because that's the crucial part of the beged for the tzitzit. You know what I mean? Different opinion. Pasko poskin Rava, but the poskin says pas like Rava. You know, so therefore we don't go like that. We go according to the majority, not according to the corners. And even though Mordechai Katav, B'Shem Tosfot, name Tosfot chants, right? Tosfot chants is different Tosfot, right? Different types of Tosfot. This one is called chants. Right? Tosfot chants, right? You know what I'm saying? Maybe, possibly. There were a lot of French people in Tosfot, right? Rav Achai Amar Zil Batar Kanaf. So Rav Achai said, we go according to the corners, right? And leochiach mikan lifsol otam talitot shemechupim saviv. So you can't prove from this case to exempt those talitot that are covered around a nekev, around the hole where the tzitzit is, or with leather. They cover it with leather to make it straight and stronger. In order that the beged shouldn't get ripped up, whatever, you know, worn out. Because here it's different. Here we're talking about the whole corner is leather, not just that little hole, right? Like a little band-aid there, you know. We're talking about that, right? The chavra beged, and he attach it to the beged, the leather. Says this rabbi, it concludes over there. Rabbeinu Yachiel, he says, Rabbeinu Yachiel Omer, the mikom makom tov le'achamir. It's good to be machmir. You know, in other words, even though it's really exempt, we go according to the majority. It's good to be machmir to put anyway. Right? Mashma the sabre the halacha kirav achai. It's mashma that he holds like the halacha like Rabbi Achai. Katav od maharik b'shorish. And he also wrote the mashma medibre ben beno shel Rabbeinu Chaim. It's mashma from the grandson of this guy, Rabbeinu Chaim Cohen. The mesapika, he has a doubt about this. You know, what's halacha? Do we pass like Rava or Rabbi Achai? We go according to the corners of the majority, right? One or the other. Halacha kirav hacha. We go like Rava or like Rava. What's halacha? He wasn't sure.
Rabbi, can I ask a question? So he says, you know, if it's even majority leather, you should still put tzitzit, be machmir on this.
There is one opinion like that, right? Yeah, yeah. There's one
Yeah.
opinion. We don't pass in that way, but
But
Yeah.
is there a chance of saying bracha on bein on this?
yeah. So we're gonna have to, tell you to do it without a bracha, right? According to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So not exactly the ideal way of doing the talit, right? But what can you do, right? That's the way it is. מדברי בנו של בשורש בנזכר, דמשמע מדברי בנו של רבנו חיים, כהן דספק עליה אי הלכה כרב אחר, ואזיל כתרביו לחומה. So therefore, since he's not sure what's halacha, he goes to chumrah, right? In other words, put on both of them. As you said, the bracha is a different story, right? That's a different story. כיוון דהריף והרמב"ם והראש ז"ל פסקו בפשיטות כרבה. Since all these, so says Maran, right? Since these, I'm sorry, I think I skipped something here. 1 second. Right. So it says, Kevan de'arif, right, the Rambam, Rosh, since all these three Rishonim hold Pasku B'shita like Rava, they Pasku like Rava, what does that mean? That it's exempt, right? In that case. So we go according to the majority, not according to the corners. So it says, there's no reason to be machmir, it says. Look what it says, right? Interesting, right? There's no reason to be machmir, You can't go too crazy with this stuff. Keep your feet on the ground, You don't have to do every chumrah, every chassidut in the world. That's the whole thing. Okay, very good. So that's the way it goes. Okay, very good. So let's see Shulchan Aruch on that. And I guess we can stop there. Says Shulchan Aruch Daled. You see that? Talit shel beged u'knafeh shel or. If the talit is made out of fabric, but the corners are leather, chayevet, it's liable. We go according to the majority, right? It's obligated. He should knafeh shel beged, but if it's the other way around, that the most of it is leather and only the corners are fabric. Petura, it's patur. That's the way it is, right? So he doesn't even bring the other opinion here. Okay. So what about the next one? Okay, we'll do that next time. Hey, okay, so we're up to hey, right? Chazak u'baruch. Thanks for coming, everybody. Be well, rest, get some rest, but learn Torah also. Learn more Torah.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
God bless. All the best. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. God bless you.
Good night, Michael.
Amen, my brother.
God
Amen.
bless you, Michael. Okay, goodbye.
Good night, Rabbi.
You too.
Bye, Rabbi. Have a good night.
Laila Tov.
Not at all.
Looking good, Michael. Looking good.